Welcome. It is a joy to be with you in this virtual space. Our church community welcomes you whether you are new or a longtime member, and we especially want to welcome those of you worshiping with us for the very first time. If you would like to learn more about our community and its online offerings, please go to nsuc.org and sign up for our newsletter. There has never been a better time to become a member or to get involved at North Shore Unitarian Church. We would love to get you connected. Once again, welcome.
Our service today honors the Jewish High Holy Days with its message of turning towards a new year. And so we will celebrate that newness and the sweetness of all that is renewing and changing. We'll celebrate that together. In that spirit, I welcome us to this day with the words from my colleague, Deborah Hafner. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to our beloved community. Happy new school year. Happy New Year, Lashana Tova, to those of you from Jewish backgrounds as you celebrate Rosh Hashanah. We gather together at the start of this new year as people of many ages, as people of many sexual orientations and gender identities, as people of many races and ethnicities, as people of many theologies and religious backgrounds, woven together in our love for this community with our hopes and dreams and prayers for the year before us, with our hearts and minds and spirits ready to be touched by the year before us, with our hands and time and talent ready to be offered in this year before us. We gather together in the start of this new congregational year with gratitude and love for those who have come before us, for those who stand here with us. May it be a good year. May it be a sweet year. Come, let us worship together. And so we light our flame. This flame affirms the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment.
So there you are, trapped inside of this dark space. It's wet, it's really cold, and it reeks of fish. You are in the belly of a whale. How did you end up in this strange place? You're not totally sure, but you think it might have something to do with disobeying God, going out to sea to hide from God, and then asking to get thrown aboard of this ship to protect your crewmates during a storm that you caused. Ignoring the very small problem that you are numero uno on God's most wanted list, what are you going to do in the belly of the whale? Panic? Pray? Listen to Gordon Lightfoot songs? In some ways, it seems like we're all stuck in the belly of a whale right now. During this global pandemic, we can't do many of the things that we want to do. Socialize with friends, be together at church, or even trick or treat. What can we do? One possibility is to reflect. For our Jewish friends and neighbors, this is a time of reflection. Tonight marks the beginning of Yom Kippur, the most solemn holiday in Judaism, and a time when many Jews evaluate the state of their soul and seek forgiveness. It is an opportunity to put down the weight of the hurts and miseries that have built up over the year so that they can begin anew. As you sit inside of the belly of the whale, maybe you'll reflect on the state of your relationships and how you might do better. That promise to stay in touch that you haven't quite realized, that passive-aggressive comment you made to an acquaintance a while back, this is the time to reflect and to act. This is the time to make that phone call, offer that apology, and begin anew. What happened to Jonah, you ask? After 3 days, the whale spit him out. Jonah had an opportunity to start over with God, to try and make things right, and to begin again on earth. The belly of the whale wasn't so much a cage as it was a chrysalis. Interpreting the words of a famous rabbi in a way that I think speaks to our UU faith, let me say this. This is the time for each one of us to relive Jonah's journey. Let us finally move towards whatever the next step is for us in fulfilling the mission for which we are called. Let us use this time to return to life with joy and with love. What a gift.
North Shore Unitarian Church is a community that is grounded in love, guided by reason, committed to spiritual growth, and striving for justice. We accomplish this mission through the generous donation of our members and friends. And so we invite you to text your donation now. Please note that in order to give, you must include NSUC, the designated fund, and the amount.
My beloved companions, I invite you to join me now in the spirit of prayer and meditation as we connect to the very spirit of life itself, the holy that binds us to each other and to the world around us. Source of love, we are weary and worn down. Division and animosity plague us. We long for respite, and yet we are ever reminded that there is more work to be done. We long for a way to bring forth a new way of being together, of both holding fast to our values and holding tenderly the worth and dignity of those we disagree with. We yearn to remember that love is big enough to hold the everythingness of the world, both as it is and as it could be. May our love for our fellow humans lure us to create spaces of mutuality and deep respect. Let the vision of a truly just world beckon us to working together for the safety and protection of all beings and the world that we share. May the warmth of compassion entice us to share all that we have. Our resources, yes, but also may we share space in our conversations, despite our differences. Let the desire to be understood coax us into the healing work of listening and holding each other's stories. Love that holds all. Draw us into a new future where we will share power and make decisions together so that all may flourish. May it be so, and blessed be.
פתח לנו שער Hachar Kifana Yom Hayom Yifne Hashemesh Yavo Yifne Navo Sharecha.
Our reading this morning is The Birthday of the World, a poem Marge Piercy wrote for Rosh Hashanah. On the birthday of the world, I begin to contemplate what I have done and left undone. But this year, not so much rebuilding of my perennially damaged psyche, shoring up eroding friendships, digging out stumps of old resentments that refuse to rot on their own. No, this year I want to call myself to task for what I have done and not done for peace. How much have I dared in opposition? How much have I put on the line for freedom, for mine and others? As these freedoms are pared, sliced, and diced, where have I spoken out? Who have I tried to move? In this holy season, I stand self-convicted of sloth in a time when lies choke the mind and rhetoric bends reason to slithering, choking pythons. Here I stand before the gates open, the fire dazzling my eyes, and as I approach what judges me, I judge myself. Give me weapons of minute destruction. Let my words turn into sparks.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chad Halun Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu,
One of the spiritual practices that makes my day sweeter is sitting with poetry. I'd like to offer one of the poems that I have been sitting with recently. It is called The Trees by Philip Larkin. The trees are coming into leaf, like something almost being said. The recent buds relax and spread. Their greenness is a kind of grief. Is it that they are born again and we grow old? No, they die too. Their yearly trick of looking new is written down in rings of grain. Yet still the unresting castles thresh in full-grown thickness every May. Last year is dead, they seem to say. Begin afresh, afresh, afresh. This poem starkly interweaves ending and beginning. Leaves bud forth in spring, and we humans often take that as a kind of newness. But Larkin turns that greenness into grief. What he means is that previous endings are built into that budding forth. And then in the final stanza, he turns his reflection to the previous year that has died. But rather than dwelling on the grief and loss of that year, it turns him to think of this year, these buds that he beholds, the need to begin afresh, afresh, afresh. Like an Ouroboros, death and life, ending and beginning, meet head to tail and merge. Last week, our Jewish siblings celebrated Rosh Hashanah, the turn to a new year. Others of us mark the fall equinox and the shift to a new season. And of course, the congregational year and the school years are starting up. And it should all feel new. And yet much of it feels so freighted with the past. These small beginnings seem to carry the heaviness of uncertainty and anxiety around the election and the pandemic and the wildfires, the death of a Supreme Court justice and feminist icon, the unrest on the streets resulting from racial injustice, and the verdict in the case of Breonna Taylor's killers. The newness seems tainted by the grief of what we have been carrying for some time now. It can feel so hard to lean into a new beginning. It can feel more like we're stuck. We're deadlocked. Many recent articles in the New York Times have covered the seeming impossibilities of moving past our hardest political stuckness. Last week, Thomas Edsel's column charted the intransigence of political identity. He cited research that shows that even when people are aware that their views are untrue, they double down on political talking points. It makes it hard to imagine what any kind of change could possibly look like. Likewise, the attempt to fill Ginsburg's seat on the court is shaping up to be a fight. The deepest political anxieties of millions will be dredged to the surface in the process. And then there is the rage and pain in the wake of Breonna Taylor's murder and the enduring inadequacies of justice when Black lives are taken. Many of you have reached out to me with your fears about this time, and I want to let you know that I am holding all of those very closely and tenderly in my heart right now. On Labor Day, I went to a protest with several members of NSUC. We had gotten word that a militia with white supremacist leanings was holding a rally in Port Clinton Square in Highland Park. I stood on the corner with members holding a Love is Love sign. Others stood for Black Lives Matter and still others for peace. It was one of the more tense protests that I have been a part of. The groups were not neatly aligned on different sides of the street. Instead, they were intermixed, a part of the same crowd. The tension was high. Some people got shoved, others had bullhorns thrust into their faces. And it made me wonder, what good is any of this doing? Is it doing any good? By standing for what we believe as members of the North Shore Unitarian Church, are we opening a possibility for newness and hope in this instance? Hope that people who feel targeted will feel less alone? Hope that in seeing us, others will stand up for what they believe? Or are we just contributing to more tension, more grief, more of the same stuckness and deadlock? Are we just leaning into the worst parts of this moment? Marge Piercy reminds us that now is the time to turn inward, to look at our actions. The Jewish high holy days are a time of introspection, of asking what has been done and left undone, what needs to be atoned for and what we need to change about ourselves. As she writes, "This year I want to take myself to task for what I have done and not done for peace." She continues, "How much have I put on the line for freedom? As these freedoms are pared, sliced, and diced, where have I spoken out? Who have I tried to move?" While I was at the protests with the other members, I felt her questions in my guts. Were we creating a space for more justice and love? Or were we just contributing to tensions reaching a boiling point? I think there's a lot of subtlety here. The student of history in me could point out many different public demonstrations that contributed to profound social change. The suffrage movement, the civil rights era, the protests against the Vietnam War. But then the interested political science observer in me might suggest that such actions are leading to deeper recalcitrance and further polarization, that this kind of action doesn't actually change anyone's mind. Seeing the tension makes people double down on what they already believe. At least that's what some research suggests. So those are two sides of me that are answering this question. But then I've also discovered that there is a Unitarian Universalist side in me that wants to say something different altogether. And that something else came out as a poem that I wrote in the wake of the rally. It is called "At the Protest," and I'm going to offer it here. Guerrilla bands of children hunched down, chalk colorful drawings in block letters, red and yellow and green, street graffiti of diversity, the preemptive shot fired from this side. I draw my line, collar and sign, love is love, across from a wife and husband who want to make America great again. We protest what others cherish, detest the face unmasked, revealing injured identity before you cross and I lose track. Sides mingle like salt and water in the IV no one guarantees we need, but tomorrow we leave the same doctor of a parent the same age. I don't know who you are. Below us are rocks older than politics and just as hard. A mile above, birds cannot sense the tension in the crowds. Flags and banners must look like we're celebrating or dancing. We churn. We flow into each other. A bullhorn thrust in my face, a young woman shoved from the curb. I stand in place and hold my sign because the fear of what we are becoming shakes me awake. Compass needles tremble left, right, poles wonder, where do we go from this corner? Are these beliefs chalk slogans destined for ruin by rain and tennis shoes? Or can this dance, seen from the right angle, turn better, turn us better? Seconds when I see you, press towards you, yet from the back cannot read the sign you are holding. So ends the poem. I wrote it out of the sense that we don't know exactly what our presence or what our actions will lead to. So much of human life verges into unpredictability. It is often hard to guess whether we are birthing something new or just dredging up old griefs. And so what I wonder is this: if we move forward in a spirit of openness and love, leaning into our values of compassion and dignity, can we trust what will come next, even if we are unsure of what that next will be? Process theology is a school of thought that looks at the world as a world of becoming. It doesn't view the world as one of frozen entities or indelible histories, and instead it suggests that we are always birthing the new. Every day, every moment is an opportunity to birth the new. It says that the impulse at the heart of the world is to become, to change, to create. People, it says, are co-creators of that world, participants in that becoming. We are poets of the world, craftspeople who are actively fashioning a new reality. And what process theology says is that at least as important as the action we choose is the stance we hold while choosing it. If our stance is one of love and compassion and the affirmation of dignity, then that becomes a part of the next moment of the world. If we live those values into the next moment of our daily interactions, then we open the possibility for something hopeful and new to come. I don't know for sure what my actions in the world will bring about. I don't know for sure what good my participation in a protest or in any other kind of political activism will create. I'm not convinced that anyone knows. But what I choose to believe is that when I help to create the next moment with a stance of compassion and hope and love, there is a better possibility that the next moments of the world will be birthed into that image, into the image of compassion and hope and love. The celebration of Rosh Hashanah involves the eating of apples and honey. Those represent the hope for a sweet new year. And so I want to end on that image, on that note. I want to invite you to carry that sweetness within your actions as we go forth from this time together. Because as brutal and dark and grief-filled as things can feel right now, when we are able to offer a little bit of sweetness to each other and sweetness to the world, there's possibility in that. There is deep possibility in that. May that be true now and always, and in our going forth from this place. Amen. I love you, and blessed be. We will be having our Zoom coffee hour in just a couple of minutes, so you are invited to go to the newsletter, find the link for that, refill your coffee, and join us for conversation. But first, before we leave, I'm going to end with some words from the poet Adrian Rich. I am moved by all I cannot save. So much in this world has been lost, it's been broken, it's been destroyed. I now know that I have to cast my lot with those who, age after age, perversely and with no extraordinary power, choose to reconstitute the world. May we choose to reconstitute the world in love and in hope and in kindness. Amen.